There is something nobody prepares you for. Not the therapists. Not the self-help books. Not even the people closest to you who say they understand. Nobody tells you what it actually looks like from the inside. The daily reality of it. The texture of an ordinary Tuesday, when your mind works the way yours does. They hand you labels. They hand you explanations. They describe the symptoms like they are reading from a menu. But they never sit down and say, this is what your inner world actually looks like. This is the real picture. That is what we are doing today. No diagnoses. No symptom checklists. Just the honest, specific, rarely spoken visual of what it genuinely looks like to live inside a mind shaped by traumatic intelligence. Traumatic intelligence is not a disorder. It is not a flaw in the wiring. It is what happens when a developing mind is placed inside an environment where reading people accurately was not optional. It was necessary. Where understanding the room, before the room understood you, was the difference between safety and chaos. That kind of early experience does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes a lens. A very specific, very powerful, very exhausting lens through which the entire world gets filtered. And if you carry it, you already know that no standard description has ever quite captured what it actually looks like from where you are standing. So here it is. The real picture. From the inside. Most people hear what is said. You hear what is said, what was almost said, what was carefully edited out right before it reached someone's mouth, and what the pause between two sentences was quietly trying to communicate. This is not imagination. Neuroscience has a name for it: elevated mentalizing. The brain's capacity to model other people's internal states with remarkable accuracy. In individuals whose early environments required constant social reading, this system runs at a significantly higher level of activation. It becomes the default, not the exception. From the inside, here is what that looks like. Someone gives you a compliment. You receive it. You say thank you. And simultaneously, a quieter part of your mind has already noticed the slight hesitation before it, the way their eyes moved slightly left, the almost invisible tightening around their smile. You are not suspicious. You are not paranoid. You are simply running a program that never got the instruction to turn off. You live on 2 floors of every conversation at once. Most people only know the ground floor exists. Here is something that sounds strange until you have felt it yourself. Silence is loud. Not in an anxious way. Not in a dramatic way. Just in a way that a room you grew up paying careful attention to never fully becomes a room you can stop paying attention to. Psychologists who research autonomic nervous system adaptation describe something called the defended resting state, a baseline level of internal alertness that persists even in objectively safe environments. The body learned at some point that relaxation had a cost, that the quiet before a storm was still the storm's introduction. From the inside, this is what it looks like. You are sitting in a room, sunlight through the window, nothing wrong, and yet some part of your attention is quietly cataloging the exits, tracking the sounds from the next room, noticing the shift in tone from the television 3 walls away. You are not afraid. You are not anxious in any way you could point to. You are simply on, always slightly on, like a security light that was installed for a reason, and never received the memo that the reason passed. Something happens. A disappointment, a misunderstanding, an unexpected moment of genuine kindness. And in the moment you are fine, present, composed, thoughtful even. Then 11 p.m. arrives. You are brushing your teeth, and the feeling finds you, full, complete, as though it had been sitting patiently in a waiting room all day, knowing exactly when you would finally have space to receive it. Research in trauma-informed psychology described this as delayed affective integration, the tendency of trauma-adapted minds to cognitively contain emotional experience in real time and process it deeply only when the environment signals enough safety to do so. From the inside, this is what it looks like. You are perpetually one emotional beat behind the moment you are actually in, living Tuesday while still finishing Monday. feeling last week's conversation. In this week's shower, it does not look like instability to the outside world. It looks like composure, steadiness even. What it actually is a mind that learned to feel on a delay, so that the surface could stay functional. The feelings are not smaller. They are simply punctual on a different schedule than everyone else's. You meet someone for the first time. 20 minutes in, you already have a quietly detailed internal picture, not a judgment, something more precise than that. An understanding of where their edges are, which topics make them slightly smaller, what they are hoping someone will notice, what they have practiced not needing. This is not a trick. It is not a gift, exactly. It is the result of a mind that spent its early years building extraordinarily detailed maps of other people, because those maps kept it safe. Researchers studying interpersonal pattern recognition in early adversity populations have found measurably elevated accuracy in reading nonverbal emotional cues, not as a personality trait, but as a neurologically embedded survival adaptation. From the inside, this is what it looks like. People are never quite strangers in the way they seem to be to others. They arrive already partially readable. And the strange, specific loneliness of this is that the very thing that lets you see people clearly also makes you quietly aware of how rarely anyone sees that far into you. You become excellent at understanding others. You become very patient at waiting to be understood. There is a particular kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being alone. It is the loneliness of sitting in a full room, being perfectly capable of connecting with every person in it, and knowing that what you would actually want, a conversation that goes all the way down, is simply not what most rooms are built for. Interpersonal neurobiology, through the research of scientists studying human attachment and neuroresonance, describes full mutual understanding as limbic resonance, a state in which two nervous systems genuinely synchronize, not just socially but neurologically. For most people, this happens at a relatively accessible depth. For a mind shaped by traumatic intelligence, the depth is simply different, greater, more layered, and that means the bar for resonance is simply set further down. From the inside, this looks like this. You can have 100 pleasant conversations. You can genuinely enjoy them and still return home with a quiet, specific awareness that something essential in you remained unvisited. Not because you are too much, not because connection is impossible, but because the territory inside you is larger than most conversations travel. When someone does travel that far, and occasionally, remarkably, someone does, it does not feel like a social success. It feels like an arrival. This is what traumatic intelligence actually looks like from the inside. A mind running two conversations simultaneously, always. A nervous system that visits peace without fully unpacking their emotions that keep their own careful schedule. A capacity to see people deeply, and a quiet patience in waiting to be seen that way in return, and a depth so specific, so particular, that when genuine resonance arrives, it registers as something close to extraordinary. This is not a broken picture. It is not a picture that needs fixing. It is simply your picture, finally described from the angle that actually matches where you are standing. If any part of this reflected something real in your experience, something you have felt but never quite had words for, drop a comment below, even just one word, because that moment of recognition, small as it seems, is exactly what this channel exists to create. If this spoke to you, every week we go to the inside of psychological experiences that rarely get described from there. And if you want to keep going, the next video is right there. It goes even further in.